Hello students, today's lecture is on Bharat Muni's Natyashastra and Introduction. Natyashastra is a treatise on drama and dramatics and elite subjects and is attributed to one Bharata or Bharata Muni as he is called more often in our tradition. The usual trappings of a Muni or sage are nowhere mentioned. On the other hand, his sons satirized the sages and the latter, enraged, cursed them to be turned themselves as their descendants into Shudras. Through Bharata is honored as the first writer on dramatics, nothing is known about him or the time he lived in or any other such personal details. The word Bharata is the name of the son of the famous king Dushyanta, who is the hero of Kalidas' play. The word also means an actor, and it is doubtful whether, as applied to the author of Natya Shastra, uh, it is a proper noun or a class noun. Even a cursory reading of the text would show us that this is the work neither of one man nor of one time. As a matter of fact, if Bharata were an authority on drama, here in this book other subjects like music and dancing are given so much importance that it is strange that book is called Natya Shastra. On the other hand, it seems as if someone later on tried to bring it in one volume all the available information on the various arts. Actually, it is the boast of the book that there is no knowledge, no craft, no lore, no art, no technique, and no activity that you find in Natya Shastra. The work in the form in which it is available today consists of 37 chapters. The usual style is the metrical one, but also prose in a number of places, particularly in the chapters on rasa, bhava, and also on musics. The total number of verses in 15 is 5569. In addition to music and dance, the subjects dealt with are semantics, morphology, the various dialects and their phonology, playwriting, play construction, production, rehearsal, acting, dramatic criticism, drama audience, producer, and many elite crafts. There are references to the other writers and other views. There are necessary receptions. There are contradictory passages. There are words, the technical meaning of which tradition has no trace. In one work, all the elements that could make a book difficult to an average reader are there. A drama gives knowledge, vibodha, to ignorant, abodha, says the author. As written earlier, it was a huge volume, says Bharata, and takes credit for the present volume, which he says is both short and simple. Perhaps Bharata addressed these words to his contemporaries, since an average modern Indian would hardly find it simple. So, what Bharata did for his contemporaries, this present book proposes to do for the 20th century Indians and all others interested in the subject. For this reason, there would be no attempt here to know who Bharata was, whether there was an actual Bharata, what time he lived in, whether it is entirely his or from time to time his school followers added and padded, etc. Whatever the answer to the question, the importance of the work would not be affected, its wisdom distracted. On the other hand, the influence of Bharata on the rural stage up to the modern days and throughout India, irrespective of the differences in languages, compels us to accept the book on the whole in its present form. The present work is not a scholarly thesis nor an original interpretation. It is no more than a rendering in modern terms and technology all the information concerning drama only contained in Natya Shastra. Here and there, the present author has attempted to supply the connecting thought as scholars do the missing verse in manuscript. Otherwise, as could be seen throughout from references to the text, it is merely the story that is narrated by Bharata and the views he expresses on the different aspects of the study of dramatics and the production of plays. Now, what about the origin and objectives of the uh, work Natya Shastra? The Natya Shastra begins with the description of how drama originated. In Indian tradition, there is no difficulty in tracing the source of anything and everything. The explanation is very simple. The trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra or Shiva manages the world by a sort of division of labor. Thus, Brahma creates, Vishnu nourishes, and Shiva destroys. Since all the three represent omnipotent goodhood, the question as to why the three gods continue this repetitive game does not arise. God Brahma creates everything, and so he created drama also. The only point worth remembering is that, unlike the material world, drama was created on a special requisition of the smaller gods, and it happened thus. Once a long time ago, during the transitional period between two ages, it so happened that people took to uncivilized ways, were ruled by lust and greed, behaved in angry and jealous way with each other, and not only gods but demons, evil spirits, yakshas, and such like others swarmed over the earth. Seeing this plight, Indra and other gods approached, and God Brahma requested him to give the people a toy, that is, Kridyamka, but one which could not only be seen but heard, and this should turn out a diversion, so that the people gave up their bad ways. But apparently Brahma did not feel flattered by this request. After all, he had created all beings, and he had also created the Vedas to give them knowledge for a better way of life. If people took to bad ways, it meant that they are neglecting or ignoring the Vedas, the sacred lore in which was continued all knowledge. But Indra explained that it was not so. Of course, the Vedas were there and many people were benefited by them. But unfortunately, the Shudras were prohibited from learning, nay, even from listening to the Vedas. In the circumstances, the remedy lay in creating another, a fifth Veda, which could be accessible to all four castes. Thus, it was Indra who, by his diplomatic skill, induced God Brahma to create a Natya Veda. For this contribution of his, Indra, as we find later, was given the honor of inaugurating the first ever play. However, to proceed with the story, Brahma created a treatise as requested. It seems that the book dictated by this god of four faces and tongues turned out not only by this god not only tough but voluminous. Indra looked the book with them, read it to other gods, and then came to the conclusion that the gods were unable to understand, digest, and put into practice the contents of this book. They are incapable of any dramatic activity, is how Indra put it to the grand old age. Probably these gods were used to an easy life. Study, hard work, or intellectual activity of any sort was unknown to them. So Indra finally proposed to Brahma that a search for a proper person be made among the sages, since they were studious and hard working. Thus it was that the final choice fell on Bharata, who was asked to take charge of the work. Naturally, Bharata abridged the voluminous work so that it could be used by the mortals. Secondly, he was asked to produce a play. You got 100 sons, and therefore you be the producer, unquote, said Brahma to Bharata. It was easy, particularly in those good old days, for a father to maintain strict discipline among his son. I quote, I got the Natya Veda from God Brahma and started teaching my sons and also rehearsing them, unquote, says Bharata, suggesting cleverly that next to God Brahma, he is the originator of our drama. Now, to what extent the foregoing narration help us to understand the origin of drama? Do we accept the fanciful divine origin, or should we say the narration is in the terms of those days when men accepted the leadership of gods, and the only way to establish an idea was to say that it originated from God himself? Though Bharata, or the author, whoever he was, seems from one point of view modest enough to take the credit as the first one in the field, from another point of view he hints to us that his views are too divine in origin to be debated, and that he himself was selected by the great God himself as the only capable or qualified one. If we look at his narration carefully, we do feel that Bharata is not undeserving of his boast. Whether before Bharata there was or there was not any drama, The drama which he gives is one uh, that definitely the drama which he gives is one that definitely was not there. The words describing the circumstances that compelled Indra to approach Brahma are very significant. Number one, uncivilized or vulgar standards, that is Gramya Dharma. People are swayed by lust, greed, anger, jealousy, etc. A toy or plaything is desired, or to create a fifth Veda accessible to all the castes. Uh, in these phrases, we find the views of Bharata on drama, its nature and its objectives. Bharata, as we feel, does not and has no intention to describe the origin of drama as such. On the other hand, he describes how his views on drama came to be formed, compelling him to formulate rules about it. It is apparent that even before him there was drama, but that was given to Gramya Dharma or uncivilized ways that described elemental passions like anger, jealousy, lust, greed, etc. In other words, the drama was not a Veda, that is, knowledge giver. It was a drama of, by, and for people to whom knowledge was denied. Indra is very particular in saying to Brahma that another, a fifth Veda accessible to all the caste, be created. He does not ask for drama as such, but adds that this fifth Veda should be a diversion and entertainment to both eyes and ears. Probably before Bharata there was no Nataka as defined by him. The stage shows were called Rupaka, and hundreds of these have been recognized by Bharata himself. Most of these dealt with low Shringara or low humor. Bharata apparently resolved in the name of gods to improve the public taste, but he knew that he could not do anything that would affect the popularity of drama. So he particularly described Kridania, an entertaining toy. On the one hand, it was entertainment, that is Kridania, and on the other, an enlightenment, that is Veda. These two characteristics are insisted upon by Bharata, and the result was that what we now call the urban theatre or a sophisticated drama. Bharata is the originator of this theatre and this drama. The story, as narrated in the first chapter of Natyashastra, corroborates such an interpretation as the foregoing one. Bharata, in obedience to god Brahma, accepted the task and started coaching his sons. Words, movements, and action, the three vratis, were also rehearsed at this stage. Brahma suggested that dance and music, Kashiki Vriti, be also introduced. Bharata agreed on one condition, that is, vis-a-vis, that females should volunteer to play since it was impossible for males to express female sentiments, etc. Brahma created Apsara's women. Finally, when the rehearsals were complete, Bharata got ready for performance on a day which luckily was Indra's festival day. The show, however, was not destined to be a success. Since the story showed the defeat of the demons by the gods, the former, led by Virupaksha, decided to prevent it, and finally disturbances broke out. Demons were routed, but the play could not be performed. The demons decided to repeat their obstruction for any second show, so Bharata had to seek protection from Brahma, who ordered the heavenly architect Maya to construct a theatre house and a stage. Before putting the show in this theatre house, Brahma called a meeting of gods and demons and explained to both of them the nature of a play. It is not any propaganda, so that whoever is depicted in an uncomplimentary light need not feel hurt. It is impartial in its outlook, so that anyone and everyone may come in either for praise or ridicule. Its object is to entertain and then to instruct, so it must be taken in the spirit. Quote, a play shows your actions and emotions. Neither gods nor demons are depicted as always good or always evil. Actually, the ways of the world are represented here, and it gives you good advice. It gives you an enlightenment and also entertainment. It provides peace of mind to those who are afflicted with miseries, sorrows, grief, or fatigue. Bharata, at least, does not seem to have been troubled any further by the demons. Two or three things in this part of the story deserve to be noticed. To begin with, Bharata feels that the theatre house is a necessity. Of course, the circumstances in which he conveys that necessity is an extreme example that disturbances are likely to be created is one of the reasons. That there are other reasons which are even more important, and we shall notice them in due course. But a theatre is a necessity as well as for the audience as for the actors, and Bharata gets its sanction from Brahma. Secondly, the participation of the lady artist. In some portions of Natyashastra, there are hints and mild suggestions that women should not be given any roles, but it is clear from the first chapter and some other contexts that Bharata's view was that some roles were done better by women than men, and particularly gestures, motions, and emotions of women could be probably conveyed by women only. Thirdly, the nature and purpose of a drama, according to Bharata, are emphasized here. The play proposed by Bharata is an insult to us and complimentary to God, said the demons. But God Brahma tells them that no drama should be looked at from a personal or narrow point of view, because there is represented not any particular individual but generalized observation of the world as its way and its ways. No motive either should be attributed to the dramatist, because his intentions is to give good advice through entertainment. The element of entertainment is emphasized more than once. However, it is an entertainment that does not excite you, on the other hand, that brings you peace of mind. So this is the story of the origin of drama in form which Bharata gave it. Just as Panini standardized classical form of Sanskrit, so Bharata standardized classical form of drama. He gives it status and dignity, a form and an objective, and finally a technique. It is immaterial whether Bharata was an actual individual or when he lived, etc. Like Aristotle among the Greeks, Bharata in India stands as one of the greatest lawgivers for good taste in literature and drama. Natyashastra is a work codifying those laws. If Bharata actually lived, then on his death, his disciples might have shouted, quote, Bharata is dead, long live Bharata, unquote. For the present, Natyashastra seems to convey the views more of a school of thought over a period of differences and debates than of any one individual. Thank you very much.